Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter number 1, the first step in God realization, text number 8. Dham Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Adhitvan Dvaparado Piturdvaipayanadaham. Translation and purport by His Divine Graces Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. At the end of Dwapara Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all Vedas from my father Srila Vaipayana Vyasadeva. Purport. The statement made by Srila Shukadeva Goswami that the topmost transcendentalist who is beyond this jurisdiction of regulations and restrictions mainly takes to a task of hearing about and glorifying the personality of Godhead. He is verified by his personal example. Shukadeva Goswami, being recognized liberated soul and the topmost transcendentalist, was accepted by all the topmost sages present in the meeting during the last 7 days of Maharaj Parikshit. He cites from the example of his life that he himself was attracted by the transcendental activities of the Lord, and he studied Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father Sri Vaipayana Vyasadeva. Srimad Bhagavatam, or for that matter any other scientific literature, cannot be studied at home by one's own intellectual capacity. Medical books of anatomy or physiology are available in the market, but no one can become qualified medical practitioner simply by reading such books at home. One has to be admitted in the medical college and study the books under the guidance of learned professors. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of science of Godhead, can only be learned by studying it at the feet of realized soul like Srila Vyasadeva. Although Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from the very day of his birth, he still had to take lessons of Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father Vyasadeva, who compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam under the instruction of another great soul, Sri Narada Muni. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed a learned Brahmana to study Srimad Bhagavatam from personal Bhagavata. Srimad Bhagavatam is based on the transcendental name, form, attribute, pastimes, entourage, and variegatedness of the Supreme Person, and it is spoken by the incarnation of personality of Godhead, Srila Vyasadeva. Pastimes of Lord are executed in cooperation with his pure devotees, and consequently historical incidences are mentioned in this great literature because they are all related to Krishna. It is called Brahma Samhitam because it is the sound representation of Lord Krishna, like the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the sound incarnation of Lord because it is spoken by Supreme Lord, and Srimad Bhagavatam is sound representation of Lord because it was spoken by the incarnation of Lord about activities of the Lord. As stated in beginning of this book, it is essence of the Vedic desire tree and natural commentation on Brahma Sutra, the topmost philosophical thesis and the subject matter of Brahman. Vyasadeva appeared at the end of Dwapara Yuga as the son of Satyavati, and therefore the word Dwapara Adho, or the beginning of Dwapara Yuga, in this context means just prior to the beginning of the Kali Yuga. The logic of this statement, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, is comparable to that calling the upper portion of the tree the beginning. The root of the tree is the beginning of the tree, but in common knowledge, the upper portion of the tree is first seen. In that way, the end of the tree is accepted as it beginning. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Hare Krishna. Today's verse is spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami in the second chapter, that is first chapter in the second canto, that is first step in God realization. And this verse it is mentioned, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, I studied this great supplement. Who is saying this one? Shukadeva Goswami. He is saying at end of Dwapar Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam. Idham Bhagavatam Nama. This Bhagavatam is named, the Vedic supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam. I studied at the end of Dwapar Yuga. Aditwan Dwaparadho Pithur Dvaipayana Daham. From whom he studied? His great father Srila Vyasadeva. He studied from his father. And this Purana is Brahma Samhitam. It's not ordinary Purana. It is a Brahma Samhitam. Why this Brahma Samhitam, and why Srila Vyasadeva, even though he is a self-realized soul in the womb of his mother, but still he studied under the guidance of his great father, that is Srila Vyasadeva. And also in the beginning of Kali Yuga or end of Dwapar Yuga. But interestingly here you can see Srimad Bhagavatam, even great souls, they are releasing Srimad Bhagavatam and they are taking a pleasure out of reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And this Bhagavatam is so significant, so important, and so great literature. Even we are accepting and we are reading this Bhagavatam by mercy of great acharyas like our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. And let us hear some of the glories of this Srimad Bhagavatam and why this Bhagavatam is a Brahma Samhitam. If you can see in the first canto, the first chapter, the third verse explains what is this Srimad Bhagavatam, why it is called Brahma Samhitam, essence of all the Vedas. Srila Vyasadeva, after seeing this Kali Yuga's beginning, there was so much of chaos. Kali Yuga means Kalahada Yuga. There was so much of Kalaha. Two people enough. Nowadays 2 people also not required. One mobile is enough. Online fighting will happen. And this Kali Yuga symptoms you can see. And Acharya Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Sadharma Samstapako. Acharyas will descend to establish the real dharma and to save the suffering souls from the difficulties. And this Srila Vyasadeva, he also felt, I have to give something very conducive for this Kali Yuga people so that they can take advantages and get rid of these sufferings. That's why he wrote the Vedic literature. He made sections, 4 Vedas, Puranas, and Upanishads like this. And after writing all this Vedic literature in so much of hard work, he was not satisfied. After doing so much of hard work, we have to satisfy. But he is not satisfied. Then at that time, his spiritual master Srila Narada Muni appeared in her hermitage and asked, what is the cause? Why you are so morose? Then Srila Vyasadeva says, I wrote so much of Vedic literature, but I am not satisfied. How can I satisfy Kali Yuga people? They are not satisfied even so many things. Correct? Na? Everywhere new intervention. 3G, 4G, 5G, so many Gs, but we are not happy with that Gs. Something else we are required. And then this Srila Vyasadeva requested, please tell me what is the cause for my dissatisfaction. Then Narada Muni, as a spiritual master, he knows what is the cause for his dissatisfaction. Then he tells, you written so much of Vedic literature for helpful of this human society, but you are not glorified the Supreme Lord exclusively. Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna exclusively. That's why you are not satisfied. Then he started writing the great literature, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. And this Srimad Bhagavatam was so great literature, it is a not only essence of the Vedic literature, it is explained, as I mentioned, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, in the third verse, it says, Nigama kalpataror ghalitam phalam shukamukha dhamruta dhrava samyutam. Nigama kalpataror. The Vedic literature, kalpataro, desire trees. The Vedic literature will give all the fruits, whatever required. Galitam, fully matured, and phalam, fruit. The fully matured fruit of a tree, when it is ripened, it will be very tasty. And especially if that fruit was pecked by a parrot, that will be super tasty. Correct, no? Super tasty. And that fruit of Vedic literature is Srimad Bhagavatam. And that fruit was pecked by the parrot named Shukadeva Goswami. Shuka Mukha Amruta Dhrava Samyuta. Dhrava Samyuta. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. This semi-solid, soft, and therefore easily swallowable. This fruit is not ripened. Nowadays in Kali Yuga, which seasonal fruit, when it will ripe, we're all confused. Correct, na? In summer also we'll get mango. Rainy season also we'll get mango. We don't know. Because that is a Kali Yuga product. But this fruit is so delicious and so swallowable. Samyuta. Samyuta means perfect in all respect. Perfect in all respect, there is no defect in this. Perfect in all respect. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. Pibata means to relish it. Bhagavatam, the book deals with the science of eternal relation with the Lord. And Rasam, this juice of this Bhagavatam is so relishable. Even who? Rasika Bhuvibhavukaha. Those who are full of knowledge of mellows on the earth. Bhavuka, expert and thoughtful. They are full of expert and thoughtful people relishing this mellow of Srimad Bhagavatam, because this Bhagavatam is relished by the Shukadeva Goswami, is another transcendentalist who was self-realized, not after taking birth and studying so much of literature. He is self-realized in the womb of his mother. Who is his mother? His mother is Pinjala. Her daughter, she is a daughter of Jabala. This Srila Vyasadeva got a son, Shukadeva Goswami, from the daughter Jabala Rishi, that is Pinjala, after doing so much of austerity and penance. Because to get a great son like Shukadeva Goswami is not ordinary. Like we heard, all of you know, famous Ramayana, Dashrath Maharaj did. Which yajna? Putra Kamishti yajna. For what? To get a son. Because to get a son, especially son like Shukadeva Goswami, son like Shri Supreme Lord, it's not ordinary. And these two personalities, Vyasadeva and Pinjal, did great austerity and sacrifice to get a son like Shukadeva Goswami. And this son is so exalted, he was there in the mother's womb how many years? 14 months? 12 years. See, any mother having son 12 years in the womb, or any son who is there in the mother's womb 12 years, is really ordinary person? No. Nowadays 9 months, 9 days, 9 seconds will be waiting, do operation. Correct? No? But this son is not ordinary son. He is there in the mother's womb 12 years. And this 12 years is simply sitting and is talking with whom? His father, Vyasa Maharshi, is another great personality. He is saying, my dear son, please come out from your mother's womb. And this son is saying, no, I will not come. Why? If I come outside, I will be get attached to you and your wife or this material world. I will not come. And Vyasdeva was in full of tension and anxiety. What will happen to wife and children? My kid? Then he tried all his level best. No use. Then finally he went to the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, to Dwaraka to invite him. Please come and something you do so that my son will come out from his mother's womb. Then finally Krishna came and assured, my dear baby boy, please Don't worry, I will give assurance. I will give assurance. As soon as I give assurance, you will not get attached or you will not attracted by this material world Maya. Please come out. Then after taking assurance from Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Shukadeva Goswami comes out from the mother's womb. And is not simply came out and is asking for a milk. Correct, no? After taking child, what? He'll cry. But this child is not ordinary child. In mother's womb only already 12 years old. He will not take not ordinary milk. And as soon as he come out from his mother's home, he was started running out from house. He became a parivrajaka. He was running out from the home. Then again another tension started. Vasudeva. I asked him, please come out. Now he came out. And after coming out, he is running away from home. What is this? What kind of personality is this? He was also started running, and son also started running. And while running, this son and father, there is a lake there. Some ladies are taking bath. When they saw Shukadeva Goswami running, they was fully moved. What is such a great personality? And this Shukadeva Goswami, after taking bath, he was not wearing any clothes. He was running, and they're all moved. And when this scene saw by this ladies, when Srila Vasudeva was passed, then they are all very stunned and they covered their bodies. Why? This was asked by Vasudeva to these ladies. Then he said, your son, so exalted, he can see soul in every body. He will not see he is a woman, she is a man, he is a man. No, he is a fully self-realized soul. But when I passed, why you covered? He is a great personality. To get a son like a Shukadeva Goswami is not ordinary father. But when I passed by this way and you covered, what is this? Because you are get attached to your son and wife. You are still in a bodily concept of life. See? That is the statement told by these ladies. But the Shukadeva Goswami, on the other contrary, you see, he was fully self-realized soul in the mother's womb. And he was not giving some statement or is not talking to themselves. No. By observing himself, they come to know he is not ordinary soul. He is a supremely transcendental personality. And this transcendental personality is talking about today's verse. What he is saying? At the end of Dwapara Yuga, I studied. At the end of Dwapara Yuga. It is very nicely mentioned here. Aditva Dwaparado. Dwaparado means in the beginning. But here it is mentioned end of Dwapara Yuga. Actually this Bhagavatam is spoken at end of Bhagavatam. At end of Dwapara Yuga. That very nicely Prabhupada commented by taking a commentary of Srila Jiva Goswami. The end of is, if you see the tree, from the top portion, if this tree, the beginning what we'll see? Beginning what you will see? In the top, in the branches, leaves and all we'll see. But actually that is the beginning of the tree? No, beginning of the tree is the root. But in that contrary, this Bhagavatam spoke at end of Dwapara Yuga, beginning of Kali Yuga. And this supplementary, Srila Shukadeva Goswami studied from Srila Vasudeva. And how he studied, this Vasudeva, after that, this Shukadeva Goswami went off from home, he was not ready to come. But Vasudeva is worried, then what to do? He is a very already grown up. Correct? No? You can't beat him also, he is already selfless, so we can't do anything. Then what to do is left it. And this Vasudeva is a very great personality. He was concerned about the Kali Yuga people, and he used to tell his disciples to go and narrate Srimad Bhagavatam wherever they go to pluck the fruit or flowers and all those things. And once this disciples of Vasudeva was reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Shukadeva Goswami heard, there are 3 verses. Once one of our senior devotee explained very nicely. There are 3 verses Srila Shukadeva Goswami heard from this disciple of Srila Vasudeva. And the 3 verses are like this. There are 2 verses I have noted down. In the 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, that is 23rd verse, it is explained, Ahopakiyam stanakala kutam jigamshayadyat apiyasta sadvi labhegatim dhatri uchit tatonya kamvadayalu sharanam brajema. The translation is like this. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he who granted the position of mother, she-demon? Who? Bhutana, she-demon. Although she was unfaithful and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. They're saying they're glorifying the personality, one who given a motherly position, for whom she took care of him very nicely, feeding milk and all. No, she came to feed Krishna with a poisonous milk. And for that personality, what position he has given? Motherly position. Who is that personality? Lord Shri Krishna himself. And this is not ordinary person. And another verse very nicely. Barhapidam Natavaravapu Krayo Karanikaram Bibradvasha Kanaka Kapikshu Vijuto Chmalam Radhan Venur Adar Samyudrapa Gopavandai Vrundavana Swadam Ramyam Prasida Gita Krityam. Wearing a peacock feather, ornament upon his head, blue karnika flower on his ear, and yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Shri Krishna exhibited his transcendental form of the greatest of the dancer. He entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with the marks of footprints. He filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and that cowherd boy sang his glories. And when I heard this statement, the Srila Shukadeva Goswami was really moved. Who is this personality? I want to hear this personality more and more. Then he asked, where people learn this pastimes and where can I hear more and more about this pastime? Then they replied, Srila Vyasa Maharshi. Then he understood, who is none other than his father himself. Then he said, see, so fortunate, I'm so far. Then again he comes back to his Vasudeva's hermitage and hears, and that's what he's saying. At the end of Dwapara Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all Vedas from my father, that is Srila Vyasadeva, that is Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. That's where Srila Shukadeva Goswami start beginning this verse. And here went very nice interesting topics things we can learn from this verse. As I mentioned, Srila Shukadeva Goswami is a topmost transcendentalist, and it is very nicely established when Shukadeva Goswami came in the assembly of sages of Naimisharanya, that is when Parikshit Maharaj about to pass within 7 days. That time even Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, all the great personalities were sitting. And when Shukadeva Goswami came in this assembly, everyone got up except his father and grandfather. Then immediately everyone is respected, offered a seat, and he was very well received, and Parikshit Maharaj started asking questions to Srila Shukadeva Goswami. What a person, one who is going to die within 7 days, supposed to do? Then he started explaining Srimad Bhagavatam. And that Bhagavatam is today what we are going to hear, that is 18,000 shlokas. And here mentioned one more thing. He recites from the example of his life that he himself attracted by the transcendental activities of the Lord and studying the Srimad Bhagavatam from the greatest father Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. Srimad Bhagavatam, for that matter, is another scientific literature cannot be studied at home one's own intellectual capacity. This is another important lesson we can learn. Srimad Bhagavatam is available. Now we are come up with a book distribution. We can purchase one book set of Bhagavatam and we can read. But Srila Shukadeva Goswami is saying, this Srimad Bhagavatam we can't understand it, study by intellectually reading. Sometimes people will say, I know 700 shlokas. Once I remember one folk devotee was saying, Prabhu, because he was doing a volunteer service in the Gita class when children comes and all those things like that, volunteer service. And children are very expert by hearting that shlokas and all those things. And any shloka if you tell, full pat, they will tell. And that folk volunteer, he was doing service. Prabhu, I am there in the Krishna conscious movement, I am practicing from last 5 years. But even I don't know some few verses. But these children, they're not practicing, but they're reciting. See, I am so unfortunate and so fallen. Then I said, you are practicing Krishna conscious from 5 years. 5 years. But you know essence of the Bhagavad Gita. What is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? What is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? Do devotional service to the Lord and accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Correct, no? Even though they don't know. That's what one of the very nice pastime when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Sri Rangam. There was a Brahmana was crying, keeping Bhagavad Gita in front of him. Why is crying? Was asked by Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why you are crying, keeping Bhagavad Gita in front of you? Then he said, Mahaprabhu, when I start reading Bhagavad Gita, tears will come. And when people saw me like this condition, they'll sing, oh, you are a great scholar. You even don't know how to read Bhagavad Gita, but you are trying to study Bhagavad Gita. Then, so yes, if you don't know, then you don't study. Then he said, my spiritual master said, even if you don't know also, please read. That is the one reason I am reading. And second thing, then okay, you are not able to read, you try to read, then why you are crying? Then he said, when I see this Bhagavad Gita, all of you know this front page of Bhagavad Gita. When I see this Bhagavad Gita, I feel like crying. Why? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvaras, Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana. That Sarva Karana Karana sitting as a chariot driver. For whom? Arjuna. Who is this Arjuna? One who is crying in a battlefield. Not that person. He is another great personality. And he is sitting as a chariot driver. That Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. Matta sarva pravartati. Iti matva bhajante mam. Bhuta bhava. That personality sitting as a chariot. What a dayalu is. I said just now, we read what is it was? Ahobakiyam sthanakala kutam. That person giving a motherly position to a person, one who came to feed a poison milk. And here is a same personality becoming a chariot driver for his devotee. What is this personality? I am not able to understand this personality. That's why my tears are coming. Then Mahaprabhu said, you understood the real purport of Bhagavad Gita. That's why Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam to understand, not required a scholarly over 700 shlokas I highlighted. What is the essence we should know, Srimad Bhagavatam. And thus essence can be understood not simply by studying by own. Even Prabhupada gave an example here in this verse saying that simple to ordinary medical practitioner, some lawyer, to become expert, he has to be gone through a training under another expert, another lawyer or another medical practitioner. And this Srimad Bhagavatam, transcendental literature, to understand, it is possible by our own intellectual property? No, not at all possible. It has to be studied, it has to be practiced under the another Bhagavata. That's why Srila Shukadeva Goswami was studied under his father, Srila Vyasadeva, to set an example, shoot an example or to how to receive this Bhagavatam knowledge. Even though he is a self-realized soul, in the mother's womb only self-realized. And what is his great personality? Even ladies of that lake, they are saying he is a self-realized soul. But still he is studying Srimad Bhagavatam under guidance of his father. That's why the Vedic literature not understood by our intellectual property. We have to study this Vedic literature under the guidance of another Bhagavata. That is a secret of understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. That is also explained at another pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is a devotee called Vallabha Bhatta. That is very nicely explained here also. Prabhupada mentions Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed learned Brahmana to study Srimad Bhagavata from the personal Bhagavata. That pastime is there in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antyalila. There it is mentioned there is a great devotee called Vallabha Bhatta. This Vallabha Bhatta was a great scholar and he studied something related to devotional service, and he came to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. And when he came to meet Jagannath Puri to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he glorified, you are so empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are spreading this Hare Krishna Sankirtan movement for everywhere like that. And he tells, I also written commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. I have also written commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Please hear from me. Then Chaitanya Prabhu knows. Commentary by Srimad Bhagavatam is not ordinary person can write. Bhagavatam itself is a commentary on Vedic literature. That's why there is no Bhashya for our Gaudiya Vaishnava. That's Mahaprabhu says. Mahaprabhu said, Srimad Bhagavatam itself is a commentary for our Vedic literature. We'll accept that. But still Govinda Bhashya is written. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I will not hear. I can't hear this one. I only knows. I will not understand all those things. I will not understand. If I am chanting means because of mercy of my so many devotees. Like he explains about Ramanandaraya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Swarup Dhamodar. All these devotees explain who and all what he received. And finally he says very nicely, interesting. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is sitting in everyone's heart. He knows what is the motivation behind this Vallabha Bhatta is asking why he has to recite and hear Srimad Bhagavatam commentary. Knowing that Vallabha Bhattas Bhattera Hridaya Abhigna Jani Bangani Kari Mahaprabhu Kahe Etavani. He says, knowing that Vallabha Bhatta's heart was full of pride, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke these words hinting at how one can learn about devotional service. And in purport, Prabhupada says, Vallabha Bhatta was greatly proud of his knowledge in devotional service. And therefore, he wanted to speak about Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without understanding Lord's position. He is the Lord himself and he is telling you are empowered by the Lord to spread the Krishna conscious movement. The Lord therefore hinted in many ways that if Vallabha Bhatta wanted to know what his devotional service actually is, he would have to learn from all the devotees he mentioned. That's why, as I mentioned, he quoted different devotees, what and all he learned. Some other time we'll discuss, because I have shortage of time. The Lord therefore hinted many ways that the Vallabha Bhatta wanted to know what devotional service actually is. He would have to learn from all the devotees he mentioned, beginning with Advaita Acharya, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Nityananda, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Ramanandaraya. As Swarup Dhamodar has said, if one wants to learn the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, one must take lessons from the realized soul. And one should not proudly think that one can understand the transcendental loving service of the Lord simply by reading books. One must become a servant of the Vaishnava. As Narottama Das Thakur confirmed, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Paiche Kebe. One cannot be in a transcendental position unless one very faithful servant of a pure Vaishnava. One must accept Vaishnava Guru, Ado Guru Ashraya, and then by questions and answers one should gradually learn what is pure devotional service to Krishna, that is called Parampara system. Because Srimad Bhagavatam, not our own we can understand, I am so intellectual, so scholarly. No. The Bhagavatam you have to understand through another Bhagavata. That Bhagavata also not simply self-made Bhagavata. That Bhagavata also has to come under the Parampara system. That person we can understand. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. Then he understands, oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after that also, again he comments and tells Mahaprabhu, he was okay for that explanation, and he was brought some Mahaprasadam Jagannath Puri, Jagannath Puri, he fed. Again he comes and he tells Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying that I have refuted commentary given by Sridhara Swami. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very upset. Very upset. What is this? If you are not following the Parampara system, the devotee one who is not following the Parampara system, Mahaprabhu says very, very strong word, you are a prostitute. This is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You have to follow a proper pati. You are criticizing, I can refute the commentary of Sridhara Swami. He is a Swami of all the Swamis. He is a great personality. He is a father of all Vedic literature. And you are telling, I can refute this, and they written a contemporary explanation of this one. What is this? Then he will not accept. And finally Mahaprabhu was very upset, and he was left right his chassis, and then he finally understood and he followed the feet. What is his mistake? He was very proud of his knowledge and intellect. I can refute the commentary of Srila Swami. Like this, Srimad Bhagavatam can't be understood through our own intellectual abilities. Srimad Bhagavatam we have to understand in the association of devotees, especially. We have to study Srimad Bhagavatam under the guidance of another great Bhagavatam. And when you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, studied Srimad Bhagavatam, what will happen? Explained very nicely in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Satam prasanga mamavirya sammido bhavanti rutkarana rasayana kataha. As we heard, Nigama kalpatoror galitam sukamuka dhrava samyuta pibata Bhagavatam rasamalayam. And this rasa, when you hear in association of devotees, Satam prasanga mamavirya sammido bhavanti rutkarana, rut and karna, both heart and karna, both bhavanti rutkarana rasayana. It is like a rasayana. In Ekadashi day they will make rasayana, no? Correct, no? Ekadashi day will make rasayana. It is so sweet, so sweet. And this sweet nectar was not simply by ordinary people. Even liberated souls get attracted. But Prabhu, we are all hearing Bhagavatam. We are also attracted, Srimad Bhagavatam. What is this? Yes, we are also attracted, Srimad Bhagavatam. Because we are all serious practitioners of Bhagavatam. There are so many people in Bangalore. Why some of you only come and sitting in Bhagavatam class, attending Bhagavatam? Because you have little attraction. At least you know. What is that? Srimad Bhagavatam's class is happening, I have to go and attend. Srimad Bhagavatam not only giving a relishment to a soul, and it is a bhava ushadi for those who are engrossed in this material sense gratification. This is another important lesson of Srimad Bhagavatam. Simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam will get liberated. This is a medicine. And those who are really serious about this bhava, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, they will take advantage of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what happened in the 7 days. Shukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj is asking, what shall I do? The person, one who is going to die within 7 days, what that person has to do? Then Shukadeva Goswami start explaining Srimad Bhagavatam. And everyone has to go through this situation. Anyone will be left out? No. At least Parikshit Maharaj has 7 days time. But for us, we don't know. Prabhupada explained one place, we may die anytime. Then one devotee tells, Prabhupada, we may die anytime. Then Prabhupada said, no, we may die. There is any time means there is a time. But we have to read and study Srimad Bhagavatam. We may die next moment. There is a difference. Any time and next moment, what is the difference? Any time is there is no. Any time is today, tomorrow. But next moment means next, immediately. That is the seriousness we have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, we will miss out. But we are so much engrossed in our material activities, we will forget the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is given by this one. But if we are serious practitioners of spiritual life, I have to understand what is the purpose of this human form of life. Definitely we will read Srimad Bhagavatam, hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a devotee Bhagavata, and we will take it seriously in our life. But we are not have that seriousness. But how do we get that seriousness? How do we get that seriousness? Prabhupada says, when you associate with a drunkard, you will become a drunkard. When you associate a Bhagavata, you will become a Bhagavata. Simply how to be in association of devotees. And that's why Prabhupada knows, even Kali Yuga also it is mentioned, anything we want to do very nicely in the Kali Yuga, we have to be in a association. That's why Acharya knows, Nana Shastra Vicharana Ekanipuno Sadharma Samstapako. They knows what is Dharma, how to establish Dharma. That's why Acharyas, they know what is Kali Yuga products, what are the medicines we have to give, how to get out from this clutches of this Maya. That's why great Acharyas like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktivinod Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, they made a institutionalized of the spiritual life. Like Bhaktivinod Thakur established a Namahattas. People can take advantages of coming to this Namahattas, practice in devotional service. And Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur established Gaudiya Math, there are 64 Gaudiya Math he established. People can take advantages. And Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur time only brahmacharis and sannyasis could have stayed in the mud and they can practice and take advantages of this. But Our Acharya is so merciful. So merciful. Anyone can take shelter. There is a pastime and pastime. Once one devotee joined as a full-time missionary. And you know what will happen when it full-time missionary. Then his parents are very concerned. And I hope another devotee went to check with his parents what happened, why. That devotee went back to his house and the devotee didn't come. Then Prabhupada sent another devotee, please bring him back and discuss with his parents. Then the devotee went, please, he's such a nice boy, he can do nice service to Krishna, please send him back. Then parents are very upset, no, we will not send. He's still very young. He has to do so many things. If he comes, who will take care of us? What will happen? What will happen? Then his father said, okay, no problem. I will discuss with my wife and I'll let you know whether we can send or not. Then he went inside home and discussed with his wife and he came back and told, you can take my son back. Then devotee understood, no, you told he has to do so many things. I thought, I leave your son. I thought of asking you to come and practice. Then the devotee, better me to come. I will take care of my wife. Better you take my son. The Prabhupada was not only intelligent, his disciples also very intelligent. Then Prabhupada was very happy when the devotee comes back to serve a full-time missionary. Like this, Prabhupada created an organization. Anyone can practice. Not only sannyasis, not only brahmacharis, anyone can practice. That is a special gift of Srila Prabhupada actually. That's why how much should be grateful to Srila Prabhupada. And this grateful and this gratitude, we can't pay back to Srila Prabhupada actually. But Prabhupada given a nice opportunity for all of us. We can do, and we can do little bit. Prabhupada says, if at all want to pay my debt, you have to do one thing, very important thing. What is that? Anyone knows what Prabhupada said? You have to preach as vigorously as I am preaching. Prabhupada says this. You have to preach. And how do you preach? Go and tell all my problems to another. And please hear others' problem. Yeah, that is, devotee should be compassionate, but not so much engrossed so that it become grhamekata. We have to tell, satam prasanga mamavirya samvidho bhavanti rutkarana rasayana. That we have to tell. Because that is a real solution. Janma karma chame divyam yoma veti tattvataha tatva yoma tettvadiham punarjanmam naiti mameti sojan. That we have to discuss when in association of devotees. And that will be very interestingly done, especially this month. What is the speciality of this month? Gita Jayanti month, where Krishna spoke personally. That's why sound representation of Krishna is Bhagavad Gita. Sound incarnation of Krishna is Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what Prabhupada is saying in the purport. That Bhagavad Gita was spoken in this month. That is on December 1st. Gita Jayanti. And that's why this month is very special. And one more thing, Prabhupada started another activity for all his disciples, not only disciples, anyone, take part in another interesting activity, that is book marathon. Book marathon. You can distribute these books. And distributing books is very difficult. Very easy. What we have to do? Just you have to tell, Bhagavad Gita is a love letter for you from Lord Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Correct? Is it true or not? That's why it's called Gita. Gita means poem. Who will write poem? Somebody is really love, na? And Krishna is loving so much. How much? How much? Huh? Krishna is how much? How much? He's not loving some rich people I love. What is the Krishna's pranava mantra? Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu. Is not ordinary Sindhu. Karuna Sindhu, then Dina Bandhu. He is not rich people Bandhu. He is a Dina Bandhu. Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu. Who is that personality? He is also on Dina. No. Who is this personality? Jagatpati. Jagat, then Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kantana, that personalities, words, we have got an opportunity by mercy of Srila Prabhupada to distribute on this month as a Gita Jayanti month. How much fortunate we are. Anyone can count our fortune? Correct, no? Even Arjuna didn't have this opportunity to distribute because he has to fight. We are also have to fight to distribution. But we have all the facility, facility we have to distribute, and already many devotees, they did this one. And just you have to be in association of devotees and do book distribution, and you will be thrilled. That's what Bhagavad Gita at the end, Sanjaya says, after hearing this conversation, thrilled, my hairs are standing on my body. Correct, no? Hairs are body. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the Bhagavad Gita. And this is an opportunity for all of us to distribute Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And today we have a book marathon, inauguration ceremony in the Multivision Theatre at 10:30. Please, all of you can participate and take this opportunity and great vigor. Like Prabhupada is saying, you all want to pay my debt, you have to preach vigorously as like I will preach. And take this opportunity and preach this one, distribute as much as possible. All of you heard, whenever devotee goes to meet Prabhupada, this distribution happened, this much happened. Prabhupada immediately used to say, what is to say? Double it. Double it. Once one devotee went and told, was very enthusiastic to tell the course of book distribution. He went and told Prabhupada, we have distributed 108, some number, 108 is a very auspicious number, we distributed this so and so. Then Prabhupada said, double it. Then he got shocked. Prabhupada will be happy, but Prabhupada said, double it. That is Prabhupada's, because Prabhupada's mood is, each and everyone has to get this teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, because that is the meaning of an Acharya. Otherwise, why Prabhupada has to go at the age of 70 with a 2-heart attack, leaving a Vrindavan, Radha Damodar temple? Why? Because of all of us. Because of entire humanity. That is an Acharya. And that's why we have to take this one as an advantage. This is a great offering or facility for us to distribute the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, becoming a great instrument in the hand of our Acharyas and Lord. Take an opportunity very seriously and distribute these books. And not only that, distributing books, I will deliver others. By distributing books, we will also get delivered. That's why one of the pastime very nicely Prabhupada says, I'll conclude this word with one small pastime. There is a devotee named Rameshwar Prabhu. There are very important instruction in his very first letter that Srila Prabhupada ever wrote to me. He says, he was so amazed that first Christmas marathon, he could hardly believe the distribution of 17,000 books in 3 days from one temple. He wrote throughout this letter how important it is to distribute a book and to save others. Then I came to very last sentence of the letter where Prabhupada wrote, more important still is to save yourself. It seems like it was just put in there that very end, yet whole letter was just building up a just put the very hard end. Whole letter was building up a saving others. I reflect on this long time. I still do gradually. What came to understand was that if you are spiritually pure, you could save others. But book distribution is not a material activity. And if you are not pure, you will not be successful. See, to do book distribution also you have to be pure. Once I asked Prabhupada in a letter, would be contaminated by so much of association with the non-devotees? Because just now we have to discuss in among the devotees. When you go book distribution, we will be always discussing non-devotees. And he is asking, once I asked Prabhupada a letter, would be contaminated by so much association with the non-devotees? Prabhupada wrote back, no. If you are spiritually pure, if you are following the regulative principles, chanting your rounds, Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, living in the association of devotees, attending classes and Mangalartika, then you are not of this world. You are not of this world. Not of this world means where you will get disturbed by this world. You are not only from this world. You are not from this world. When you go out, you will be protected. That's why Jivana Sarthakare Karo Paropkar. You have to be pure. When you are pure, we can distribute this knowledge. And how to become pure? You have to go and sit in a fire. Which is that fire? Chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Like Madhu Pandit always says, you have to go and immerse in the fire. Then we become 24 karat gold. You have to sit, then you have to nicely chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And how we have to chant this one? Very inattentively, very attentively you have to chant. When you chant attentively, then you will be attracted towards Krishna. When you chant attentively, you will get attracted towards Krishna. When you are attracted towards Krishna, what will happen? Your attachment will start. When you get attached to Krishna, what will happen? You will be absorbed in that attachment. When you are absorbed, attentive, attracted toward that personality, what will happen? You will be addicted to that personality. When addicted means what? You will never stop. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says, my spiritual master told you chant, but I become a fagal. I become mad after read. That is the power of Shri Hare Krishna mantra. When you have any difficulty, simply have to chant. Then what will happen? Krishna is saying in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, what is saying? Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate teshabi nitya yuktanam yogakshema. When you go for book to sometime, bro, I don't know anything. No problem. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Chant Hare Krishna mantra. Krishna will give all. Sarvasya chaham dudi sannivishtu matta smriti jnanam apohan. Everything Krishna will give. That is the confidence you should have. That is the spirit you should have, and go for distribution and do. Spread this Krishna consciousness. Then our Jivana also will sarthaka and others also will. But for that you have to maintain that purity by doing all these things. Chanting Hare Krishna mantra, conscious of Krishna, and reading books, attending Bhagavatam classes, being in association of devotees. All this help her to become a pure, and is that pure conscience when you give distribute, they will also take. That's why book distribution is not so difficult. But when you are difficult to follow. But when association of it is very easy. That's where we have to take association of devotees and hear from the senior devotees how they are doing. And especially today we are very fortunate to have association of His Grace Chanchalapati Prabhu at 10:30 in a multivision theatre. Please, all of you don't miss. Please kindly after prasadam, kindly proceed and hear how this book distribution, most important to distribute this knowledge, especially this age of Kali, and take advantage of this. That's where I'll end here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, book distribution marathon ki, Dushva Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.